Story number 1. A Karen attacked me over headphones and a DVD player while I was camping because I was watching Tailspin, claiming her child needed something to entertain themselves with. In the past I've made posts about my jerk of a brother. But this time something else happened. I decided to go camping again for the first time this year because of spring break. Though I only got the weekend to go. But it was just enough for me to unwind. My brother didn't follow me like he used to. I think I've finally gotten him to understand screwing with me is just not worth it anymore after he drank that growler full of laxative spiked beer he stole from me last year. So the drama from him has been as bad for the past few months. Though he's still an entitled jerk, and I've got plenty of things to tell about him and his antics from the months I wasn't posting. I figured my worries about camping trouble were over. But no, I had to deal with a lunatic Karen. I'd already spent one night at my campsite. I was loving the fresh air, and fortunately rain was minimal. That's the only reason I went. Otherwise I'd have just stayed home. But I had an itch to scratch to get out and enjoy some mountain air. I was far from alone as the spaces around me were full of tents, trailers, and RVs. Plenty of people caught the camping bug during spring break, just like I did. I was sitting relaxed in a folding lawn chair and watching Tailspin on my portable DVD player. Yeah, I know it's a cartoon, and an old one at that. But I enjoy since as a kid I used to watch some old tapes of it a cousin had, and I've owned the DVDs of the complete series for around 10 years. And I won't deny I've always had a bit of a crush on the character Rebecca Cunningham. I had headphones on because other campers were playing music, barbecuing, and doing other things. I was just chilling and letting myself mentally zone out with some refreshing cold beer when I got a sudden and hard tap on my shoulder that frankly scared the piss out of me for a second. And then I turned around to see a roughly middle-aged woman in overtight purple yoga pants with her hands on her hips. She didn't have the Karen haircut, but she did have the bleach blonde hair and overly large bug-eye sunglasses. I know in this situation a lot of people will reflexively say, "Can I help you?" But that's just giving an opening to these people to say whatever they want. So my first reaction is to just angrily say, "What? Can't you see I'm trying to relax by myself?" That set her aback for a second. She didn't go away. So I paused the episode 1 was on and grumpily asked her what she was bothering me about. She spoke up in a matter-of-fact way that sounded like she was trying to be in charge. I guess trying to activate mom mode on a stranger. But I think the unfriendly scowl on my face was enough to show that I'm not exactly friendly. So she just pointed at the portable DVD player and said that she wanted to borrow it and the headphones for her daughter. To make it brief, I said no. And no is a complete sentence. Because I don't know her, I don't know if she'd bring it back. And I certainly don't know if her kid wouldn't damage it. I do actually keep a smaller backup portable DVD player in the camper too, but I wasn't about to let this woman know that. Well, she certainly didn't take to being told off like that well, and then launched into a tirade about how I was a grown man watching cartoons, how they only have one TV in their RV, and her daughter needs something to watch because her kids can't agree on what to watch, so she needs my DVD player. I coldly said that was not happening, and she actually gave me a loud "why not?" So I pointed out to her that this was really not my problem, and she just crossed her arms and said that as an adult, I should be putting kids first. I said that would be the case if I had kids. But her kids are not my kids, I don't know them, and I'm in no way related to them. And therefore I have no obligation to them. So she rolled her eyes and then tried to offer me money for the headphones and DVD player. Admittedly, I didn't pay much for either of them. But I don't care. I wasn't interested in selling. She only offered $20 for both anyway. I just told her no, and to kindly leave me alone to watch movies in peace. Then I tried to just sit back down and resume the episode. She didn't take that well, and proceeded to try and grab my DVD player right in front of me. Like I was just going to let her walk off with it. I got up and stopped her while saying, "That ain't yours, lady." She proceeded to try and shove me over. Try being the word. She clearly underestimated how heavy I am. I don't look it at all, but I'm around 230 pounds. My body frame just hides it well. And I've been in a few brawls in my life. I ended up grabbing her arms and shoving her back with little effort. She fell on her bum into some wet grass and started yelling that I'd assaulted her while looking around for support. I've seen enough Karen stories to know where this goes if I say nothing. So I yelled, "Yeah, assault. Assault on me when you tried to push me over and steal my stuff. And there's plenty of witnesses around us, lady. Or did you not notice?" There had already been a few people around us watching the whole altercation, and they'd gone dead quiet while staring. So then I said to everyone, "Check it out. We've got a bona fide Karen here who tried to take my stuff for her precious angel baby." Everybody clapped for her. And they did. They actually started clapping. The Karen looked completely humiliated and stormed off screeching that I was an asshole. Her yoga pants ass was all wet from the grass too. Which only made it funnier. I kept thinking, "Your ass is grass," as she walked away. But I didn't say it aloud. I tried to resume watching the DVD as I was. But I felt uneasy the Karen might come back. She snuck up on me rather easily before. And I didn't want to risk that again. So I packed up and went back into my camper to continue watching and drinking inside. Got pretty plastered that night. I remember giggling like a moron while watching the episode with the panda people that were evil Chinese stereotypes. Stayed at the campsite for one more night and didn't see the Karen again until I was leaving Sunday afternoon. I saw her standing by her POS-looking RV with a large fountain beverage in one hand and a dog leash in the other. It was one of those yappy little fluffball dogs too. She glared at me as I drove past and I just waved to her and said, "Bye Karen," out my window. She threw her drink at my truck, but none of it got in through the window. I could hear her yelling at me, but couldn't really make out a word of it. I'm not sure what goes on in the heads of these people. I understand this could have gotten a lot worse. Like that nut bar sicking the local ranger on me or something. But I think the public humiliation was enough to make her back off. I can only wonder if the rest of her family is just like her. Glad I didn't meet them. Edit, here's the DVD player and DVDs. Edit 2, I would like to clarify that the tap the Karen did on my shoulder was by no means light. She had long fake nails, and tapped my shoulder hard like she was on a mission to dig her nails into my skin in rapid succession. And that really pissed me off from the start. Story number 2. Entitled Karen wants to use my wheelchair at antique store. Cast, me, myself and I, Nell's old man, though he doesn't speak, Harriet Karen. My husband and I rent a display space in an antique/consignment store for our collective side hustles. I quilt and crochet. My husband sells custom die-cast cars and diorama supplies. Every few weeks we go in and restock our space. This store is very large and can be a bit of a maze, and the store has designated rest stops throughout the aisles. One is across from our space. The store does not provide mobility aids for customers, so it is a BYO policy if you need a walker or wheelchair. I'm a wheelchair user as I'm paralyzed from an L2 SCI. My husband and I were at the store restocking the space. My husband had just left to take one of our totes out to our van, leaving me in our space sorting through my tote that the baby sets I make. When I hear someone huffing behind me, I didn't really pay too much attention to it, thinking that someone might have been taking a break at the rest stop. I was just finishing laying out my sets on the table in our space when the person at the rest stop decided to talk to me. "Do you know if the store has wheelchairs for people to use?" I look up from my task and see an elderly couple across from our space. The old man is standing next to the bench, looking kinda annoyed. While the woman has flopped on the bench in an "I can't take another step" kinda way. I honestly was concerned that she might have been having a medical issue as she was rather plump. Are you okay? I ask, about to tell her or her partner to use the phone above the bench to reach the staff desk for help. This store is 2% Dollar King big. Harriet exclaims. I can't walk anymore. Me, the store has a chair for medevac use. One of the employees could bring it to you if you need help leaving. Harriet, but we're not done shopping. Me, I don't think they have wheelchairs to borrow. They have had issues with rowdy kids riding mobility scooters, so they do not provide them. But if you use the phone above you, you can ask a staff member. Just dial 1 and it will connect you to the staff desk. There is a sign next to the said phone that states this. Harriet seems to be thinking about her options, so I go about my work. Nels wanders down the aisle, possibly looking for an escape route. Harriet, what about the wheelchair you're sitting in? Me, this is my personal wheelchair, it doesn't belong to the store. Harriet, can I borrow it? Me, what? Surely she's not asking to take my chair to go shopping. Harriet, I want to use the wheelchair. You're young enough that you could stand to walk for a bit. I'll bring it back. Me, ma'am, I cannot stand at all. I've been a paraplegic since I was 12. This wheelchair is not store issued. It's my personal property that cost a lot of money. If you call the staff, maybe they can let you use the medical chair, or maybe they know of one someone has in their space that you can buy. But I will not give you my chair and I cannot help you. At this point I have rolled out of our space. I decided to head towards the vendor door and just leave. Rumor has it Harriet is still sitting on the bench waiting for someone to give her a wheelchair. Story number 3. Karen at lunch wanted to be a doctor, and that gives her all the rights. This story will be short, but it needs some context. In Brazil, public universities usually have a university restaurant. Honestly, the food isn't the best, but it's extremely cheap, 15 cents roughly. Lunch is very big and feeds you all day. I am 20Y, study public health overnight at a public college and medicine full-time at a private college. I tend to be late because what I do borders on insanity. One day I was at the restaurant waiting for my lunch, when I see a Karen watching the lunch served with a disgusted face. After asking to pass in front of some colleagues in the queue, it was my turn to give up my seat, but on the day in question I was absurdly late and could not give up my place in the queue. When the conversation begins, K for Karen, M for me, and P for philosophy student. K, hello, could you give up your seat? I'm late. M, I'm sorry I'm late too, but I promised to be brief. K, excuse the question, but what is your major again? I was a little out of sorts for what someone would judge a medical student to be, but I was comfortable, and since I was in the public college restaurant I answered my subject at that university. M, I do public health. K, so you have a duty to let me pass, I study medicine. One more context, Karen's college was across the street, whereas mine, which I did privately in the afternoon, I had to take a 30-minute trip. M, I'm sorry, but there is no rule that your course gives you any priority. K, I must arrive early, my job will be to save lives, give me the seat. M, mine too dear. K, what do you mean? Everyone knows that those who take this course do not have the ability to pass on something better, like those who take a degree course to teach. Maybe Karen was right, it's very difficult to get into a public college in Brazil, and that's why I was doing a private one. M, for your information, I'm doing medicine too, but at UFRGS, name of the public college, I'm doing collective health. K, dressed like this? Tell another. M, if you want to inspect me, here are my badges from both colleges. Asterisk, I take the cards out of my pocket, giving a clear wallet star. Besides, in such an unequal country, I didn't expect discrimination by profession from a fellow doctor. You lack empathy, doctor. At that time, P, who had given his place in the queue, said, P, You are being prejudiced in a public college restaurant in one of the most unequal countries in the world. I faithfully hope that you don't manage to graduate. I'm afraid of being treated by a doctor like you and not like the other colleague," pointing to me. "Imagine if you found out that my dream is to be a philosophy professor." Then an argument ensues between Karen and practically the entire line of 20 people, as I grab my lunch and watch the commotion. I tend to sit isolated, because since my course is at night at the public college, I don't have friends at lunch. I watch the crowd of angry students shoo Karen out of line as P walks towards me to ask if everything is okay. I promptly answer yes, since the prejudice was greater with the other students since I was also studying medicine. In the end, the security asked Karen to leave since she was causing a disturbance in the place. And I ended up becoming friends with P and his fellow teachers. Story number 4. Entitled Karen comes to our plant shop and starts moving and stealing stuff. This was my first encounter with a Karen. So for context, my mom owns a plant shop, and I help around the store occasionally. We've had all sorts of entitled customers and not so bright customers. We even had a customer come in and ask for a green plant with leaves. But this lady tips the scale all the way. So I'm out front putting plants and decoration out the front of the entrance as we do every day, and then a wild Karen appeared. I hear this loud scraping sound from behind me. I look over to see this large old lady with gray hair and a black shirt with flowers moving the large concrete potted plant that had been permanently placed there. This potted plant wasn't easy to move. The concrete pot alone was a meter or so tall and had a gross weight of around 45 kilos. She was shoving this thing with all her might when I walk up to her and ask what she thinks she's doing. She turns to me and says, "This annoying thing was obstructing the sidewalk and needs to be moved." It was not obstructing anything. I tell her to please leave this plant alone, it is not your property. She ignores me and keeps moving the plant. I go to my mom, the manager of the store, but by the time we're out the front she has stopped moving the plant and is now loading up her car with our plants from the front along with other things. My mom storms up to her and asks her what the heck she's doing. The Karen turns over with her face red as a tomato and says, "Since you had the audacity to block the sidewalk with your crap, I should be compensated with these free plants." My mom has just about had it and starts unloading our plants from her car. She starts screaming, demanding us to not touch her stuff. She said she would call the police and press charges for theft. Then I chimed in and said, "Actually, we have security footage of you stealing from our store, and if you do not leave we will call the police." Karen was fuming and muttering incomprehensibly. We hadn't actually called the police yet, but by sheer random chance a police car happened to drive by the store and the Karen's face turned from red to white. She had actually thought we called the police. She hopped in her car and sped opposite of the police car and it didn't even notice. We haven't seen that entitled Karen since. Story number 5. Double dose of entitled Karens have meltdowns. Karen number 1 was in front of me in line in a big box home improvement store. This store offers a mail-in rebate, and the shelf price lists the price after said rebate, but clearly states this. So the items ring up at the regular price, not the rebated less price, and she starts losing it on the cashier saying she is being overcharged. Manager is demanded. The line is held up while the manager explains the rebate situation, and walks Karen to the shelf to show how it says the price is reflected after the rebate is applied. Karen and manager return, with Karen raging that this is illegal, false advertising, switch and bait. She wants to call the police/attorney general/God etc. and proceeds to have an absolute meltdown. Everyone is rolling their eyes. Meanwhile, Karen number 2 is behind me, and now sick of waiting in line, so sees someone at the next aisle over and barges over there demanding to be checked out. The person at that register explains they are just there to clean the area, there is no cash drawer, they are not logged in, and cannot check out customers. Karen number 2 does not care. She will be paying by card, so who cares if there is no cash drawer? Just log in and check me out. I've been waiting. Employee states she can't log in, she is only there to clean the station. Karen number 2 now melts down completely because she has lost her place in line, and demands a manager come over and open the aisle to check her out so she does not have to go stand in another line. End results? Karen number 1 has been told by everyone around her that this store has advertised like this forever and, don't like it, don't buy, go away please, and just gives up and pays. Karen number 2 has to find her way back to the end of another line with a big red face. I leave 5 minutes later than expected, seeing 2 Karens at large in the wild get put in their place. October 10th, worth the delay. Story number 6. Karen doesn't understand how hotels work. Leaves a 1-star review without even staying there. We had a booking but cancelled when we got there because the front desk staff do not know how to be hospitable. Ironic, isn't it? Since they work in the hospitality industry. They spoke to my husband like he was empty space. Then looked at me as though I shouldn't waste my time living. You know the type, like those young shop assistants who look straight through you if you are older than 22 and don't fit a size 8 skinny jean. This misdirected bunch of ineffectual hospitality workers are a blight on Australian tourism, but why? I am glad you asked. We did not have a credit card. We lost it somewhere that day on our way to Sydney. The reason for the credit card is to guard against damage and fraud. We did not have a credit card but we had a prepaid booking. Okay. Can we rest after our long journey, do you think? No. They needed a credit card so they could place $1 against our account as, yes, you guessed it, damages. Right? Well, I think maybe wrong because when we offered them $1 cash, which, if you remember, was all they were going to take from our credit card, they said they needed more money than that. More than $1. Okay. How much? Boy, greedy, their little eyes lit up, as if to say, much more. We said, but that is all you said would be charged to my husband's credit card, and so on until the manager, Mr. No Plan B, found his little ineffectual self in the spotlight with no other option in his tiny pea brain and nowhere to hide. You get me? My next question is, how much is enough, in cash, mind you, if not $1? We didn't stay. Would you? We are not the sum total of 2 nights stay at a Bondi hotel. We are people with feelings who stand up for our moral values just like everyone else. While, the small matter of 2 prepaid nights is not our problem, because my husband is in Sydney on business. We care. I bet you, when the people who did prepay for our room hear what happened, there will be some deep discussion. If they were to ask me, I would suggest there is a section somewhere in a Commonwealth Act that might do a lot of the talking for them. Don't get me wrong, I really appreciate kindness, hospitality, feeling welcome and valued. What I don't appreciate is what I experienced today, and I will not stand idly by while people I care about are treated badly. Not on my watch.